I am talking today with Claudia Covello, the Executive Director of University Health Services here at UC Berkeley. Hi, Claudia.
Hi, Annette.
Thanks for sitting down with me today to share your leader story.
Sure.
So, can we start with a quick synopsis of your career here at UC? How long have you been here? Talk about your role.
I'll try and make it quick. I've been here for 35 years, so it might take a few sentences to get there. In fact, I was an undergraduate student here in psychology. Thought I was going to be a therapist. So I knew I was interested in health. I just didn't know what part of healthcare I wanted to be in. And when I was an undergraduate here, I did a lot of volunteering, peer counseling programs, learning about crises counseling. And by the end of it, realized that I didn't want to be a therapist. I didn't want to deal with crises. I wanted to deal with prevention, education, public health. And so I walked down the hall of Zellerbach Hall, not knowing what I was going to do with my future at all. I went off and worked with nonprofit organizations at the Center for Independent Living, and then I volunteered at the Berkeley Women's Health Collective for a number of years as a medic. So again, I was dabbling with what part of healthcare or community agencies I wanted to work for when I got a call from the then director of the health promotion unit at the health service on campus, who said, "Would you come for a 2-year job and help us start the first women's health clinic?" And I said, "I think I want that. Yes, I'll do it." So quit my job, came over here, and that was 35 years ago.
Wow, for a 2-year job.
Yeah.
So tell me about what defining moments have occurred in your life or your career and how they've shaped you.
Well, a very defining moment that helped shape my career was having a mentor. A woman who saw something in me as a young woman that was worth investing in. And she sort of took me under her wing, along with several other people you should know. She was just a natural mentor and enjoyed teaching. And what I learned from her was that just because you run up against barriers or things that appear to make change impossible, there really is a way. It may be timing, it may be how you influence the environment, it may be how you influence people, but the whole world opened up for me when she taught me that you can lift barriers just under different kinds of conditions and actually move change forward. And that empowered me in a huge way to think I could be a change agent and not just a health educator or a service provider. I could actually maybe help this environment be a better and more healing environment for people's well-being.
So that's a great example of mentorship. I also know that your predecessor in this role groomed you to take over for him. So you've had a lot of mentoring.
Yes.
Have you paid that forward and mentored other people in their careers?
I sure try. I must admit, in this day and age, there isn't quite as much time to spend with people, so I don't intentionally set up a mentorship role that's very formal. But what ends up happening naturally is that people, even though they're well into their careers, are still learning, though, how to be influential and how to move change forward. And so just through supervision and spending time in our one-on-ones, there's a lot of ways that I try and pass on the teachings that I've learned.
As you look back, what core beliefs have guided your choices and your actions?
Well, I believe that one of the most important things is your health and well-being, and that the belief that health is a holistic concept. We work on this incredible campus. I think of the campus's health and the multiple and many populations and communities within the campus. So I guess the strongest belief is in a holistic and broad view of what well-being is.
Now, I know you're fascinated by leadership, and you even went back to school to get a master's in leadership studies. So tell me, what does being a leader mean to you?
I am fascinated by leadership. I don't think it's a single concept. I think it's got lots of dualities to it, and it's highly complex. Because I don't think leadership means that you have a lot of authority or that you're the highest level person in your organization, or that you are the person with the strongest subject matter expertise. Those notions are a lot of what people think of. I actually think of it as, how do you create change, and do you have the ability to influence others to see the vision you have, participate in the vision that you have, and work as a team towards that goal. Leadership is a concept that is about your own authenticity and your own ability to connect on the most human level with people, because that's what inspires them. They trust you to follow you, and if you have trust and personal connection, it's amazing how much people want to work with you and want to work on the vision that you're setting out. So it's personal. Leadership is personal.
So give me an example then of how you've applied what you learned in your program on leadership studies or your own experience as a leader to your work here on the campus.
Well, I'll talk about a project I'm working on right now for the health service, which is a large initiative called collaborative care. And as an example of leadership applied, because I didn't know what collaborative care was, or that I wanted to lead in it. I got some experience learning about it through some workshops, and reading, and interviewing people who were delivering healthcare in a much more holistic way. The example why I bring it up in terms of leadership is that it didn't come from my doctors or my mental health people. It didn't come from within the organization. And so when I saw it and learned about it, and I needed to bring it into the health service, I started with the leadership in each one of those areas, and asked them to read and asked them to learn about it and have a discussion. Do we have a shared interest in this? And that was the very first step, was developing the shared interest. Because each one of those fields is very different. And people hold on to their professional fields, and it's a little threatening to move out of your comfort zone. So once the leadership, though, really saw the benefit for this community, then we just started doing numerous change management strategies to introduce collaborative care model to the rest of the organization, to pilot it in small ways so that people could experience it and the benefits of it, and to interview our clients to make sure that it was the right service for them and that they truly found value in it. I think it's a great example because I could never do this alone. It's taking me dozens and dozens of people to grasp the model and the concept, believe that it has everything we need to do to serve this community, and to just embrace it and move forward.
So you led the change by engaging all the change agents rather than forcing a top-down.
Nicely said.
And it's working. That's the model you're using now?
Yeah, it's not perfect, and we are not in full mode yet. But we're a good halfway there, and we have a lot of people who are excited about it and are very engaged.
What do you find the most rewarding and the most challenging aspects of your role?
Well, always what's most rewarding is when you get to touch and feel the impact of having a positive effect on another human being. And sometimes that's on an individual level, and sometimes that's on a community level. I mean, just the years ago when we started a campaign about how drinking water is a healthy option, and we introduced the I Heart tap water concept. It was like, water? How boring. but a couple years into it, you can see that people reach for water the majority of the time now, and that it's become the health norm. So it's rewarding to see things happen on an individual basis, but it's also equally rewarding to see an environmental change where many people or a whole community are positively impacted. I mean, right now, I'd be remiss if I didn't say resources weren't the number one challenge. Just because we actually have a vision and want to make change doesn't mean we have all that we need, infrastructure-wise or resource-wise, to make it happen. The other challenge, of course, is that the complexity of our campus is just, it is so overwhelming, and I think overwhelms a lot of people who come into leadership positions in our organization, because it's hard to know where the levers of change are. It's hard to know how to move through all the silos. It's extremely challenging.
So you've talked about being here 35 years.
Yes.
You've obviously worked through a lot of those challenges. In what ways do you find it an advantage to our organization as a whole to have staff and leaders like yourself who have been around for a long time? Do you have new ideas, or do you have new things to share?
I think I gave an example of where I have new ideas, and it didn't come from within, from being here for 35 years. It came from getting out there in the world and going to conferences and being exposed to new ideas. So just because you're in the same organization for a long time, it doesn't mean you only learn from within the organization. External exposure is extremely important and keeps you on your toes. The advantage of being here this long is that I'm used to the pitfalls. I'm used to the negative first reactions that people have. I'm used to the resource constraints. Those are like the usual givens. And so I don't spend a lot of time worrying about that anymore. I just know that I have to, in order to, make change or to lead on any particular subject, it's just not going to happen overnight. It takes a great deal of patience and persistence and clarity. But, when you're focused, you can do a lot.
Claudia, what have been the biggest lessons learned for you?
I think the biggest learning lesson was that to not be insecure because I'm not trained as a physician or as a psychologist or psychiatrist or many of these, highly trained healthcare professionals that I work with.
And that report to you.
And that report to me doesn't mean that I don't have something incredible to offer back. And so the lessons learned was that I have really good instincts about the direction of the health service, what people need for themselves to be able to lead. That's why the mentoring is helpful.
So if you were to meet with a new young staff person today, what advice would you give them as they're starting their career?
Be patient. Find a mentor. Value learning lessons. It's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. It's the best way you learn. And to push through those insecurities and gain your confidence. I find a lot of people, and particularly women, don't find their confidence until midway through their career.
What are you most grateful for?
For the people I love and for the people who love me. And that would be my husband and children and siblings and good friends. I think anytime, you get to experience love in all sorts of ways, you get to stay in the mode of gratitude. So.
Nice. So Claudia, is there anything else you'd like to share with our Wisdom Cafe audience?
Be a lifetime learner and study leadership, and there isn't one way.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Sure. Thank you, Annette.